Hi there, welcome to Flashpoint on this New Year's Day. A very happy new year to you and yours. I'm so glad you're with us. We turn the corner into a new year, and it seems quite human, I think, for us to pause just a moment, look back, and look ahead. Here's one perhaps overlooked benefit of modern digital life. Most of us don't write as many checks anymore, so there's a lot less of that writing down the wrong year and then tearing up the checks for a few weeks. But the new year always brings with it the hope for bigger blessings than that. And let's face it, 2022 was a tough year for a lot of people. Inflation ran amok for much of the year, and everything from gasoline to groceries made everyday purchases sting like a bee. 2022 was pretty awful for a lot of people in the path of natural disasters like Hurricanes Fiona and Ian. And just before Christmas, it was a historic and savage blizzard that hit snow-savvy Buffalo with such icy ferocity. COVID doesn't seem to care that most Americans just don't want to deal with it anymore, and it keeps taking lives and subjecting people to long COVID miseries. Misery seems to plague the southern border for those on both sides of the immigration fight. And of course, 2022 was not a great year to be a Ukrainian, even though you do have to marvel at the toughness and ingenuity that has kept the Russian invasion in a surprising stalemate there. But as I tend to be a glasses half full kind of guy, I hope we'll remember 2022 for some stunning accomplishments that will bear fruit for years to come. Everything from the James Webb Telescope and its ability to take us to the very beginnings of our universe to the recent announcement on nuclear fusion, which, as we discussed on the program a few weeks ago, holds almost unimaginable promise, even if it is well down the road. So what's ahead? Well, that's our charge this morning. We'll talk about it with a roundtable of fearless prognosticators, and then we'll bring in a professional prognosticator, Jennifer Brace, the Trends and Futuring Manager at Ford. It's all today, New Year's Day, on Flashpoint. All right, let's ring in the new year with a great group this morning, minus the party hats, unfortunately. Everybody left those back at home. Great to have with me Stephen Henderson from Detroit Today on WDET. Sandy Barua, the CEO of the Detroit Regional Chamber, back with us. Zoe Clark is the political director for Michigan Radio. And Nolan Finley, editorial page editor of the Detroit News. Happy New Year, friends.
Happy New Year. We made it.
We made it.
Yeah.
For a lot, as I said in the open of the program, for many, many people, it was a really, really tough year. Zoe, have you got any What's your takeaway?
I mean, first, let's say it's been a tough few years.
Tough few years, like, okay.
It's been a lot that everybody's going through. But I mean, out of this year, I think just a complete, we're here talking about politics in the year that was, and it's going to be just this complete shift, an iteration of what Lansing looks like. And so for me, of course, the election, the Dobbs decision were the top headlines coming out of this year.
Yeah. Stephen, what are your thoughts?
I think this was a year of transition, away from COVID, hopefully toward something better. But I feel like so much of the year was still kind of held back by the fear about the pandemic, by how much sickness there still was. I mean, I knew more people who got COVID in 2022 than in 2021.
As I said, we have gotten over COVID, but COVID has not gotten over us, is what's happened here.
Yeah, and so I feel like there were so many things that I was looking forward to at the beginning of 2022 that I thought would happen and get back to normal that just didn't happen because we're still dealing with this pandemic.
Nolan, how would you tag 2022?
Well, I think this disappointing instability that emerged throughout the year. We started 2020 thinking, okay, COVID's behind us, we can start getting back to normal. And this was anything but a normal year in whatever direction you point. You've got the Ukrainian-Russian conflict, raging inflation. We didn't expect that. The political disarray that emerged throughout the year. It just seemed to be this promise, this post-pandemic promise was not realized this year. Maybe it will be in 2023, but who knows?
It has been a year of instability, that's for sure. Sandy, what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I think that the instability that Nolan talks about, the through line between how things have been connected in 2022 is just so striking. You mentioned, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, how that has a direct line into the ongoing supply chain issues, which had a direct line then to the global inflation that we have, including, gasoline prices, which was a huge issue this summer. And then when you look at the response, well, when the only tool you have is a hammer, well, our only hammer was the Federal Reserve Bank, and they obviously raised interest rates. So now you have, a discount rate of 4.5%, which all of us at this table are old enough to remember 4.5% discount rate is not a big deal, but it is if you're used to zero, for so long. So the through line between how these global crises have seeped in and impacted us locally here. Just one quick point about interest rates. The rise in interest rate has a disproportionate impact on Detroit. One, if you look at Rocket Mortgage, United Wholesale Mortgage, right? Exactly.
Mortgage City, yes.
We are down 60% plus in mortgage origination demand, and then of course it has a big impact on the auto industry.
Yeah, still all true. I try, though, as I often do, I really do, Zoe, try to be a glasses half full kind of guy.
Optimism, baby.
At the beginning of the year, it looked like democracy was under assault on so many different fronts, including Russia invading Ukraine. There were many, many examples. We get to the end of the year. We have an uprising in Iran led by women's rights. We have people taking to the streets in China to protest COVID protocols and guidelines. We had an election that somehow did not have the upheaval and people pounding on the doors at, I was about to say Cobo again, sorry, at Huntington Place. I thought there were a number of things where the year ended better than we thought it might, because I expected a much more bitter election post-mortem.
Well, and so did the folks who were running the elections, right? And they did everything they could to ensure that it wasn't, it wasn't that it simply, blinked your eye and kind of a magic wand and we had secure elections. It was because of a lot of people working very hard. But no, there has been tearing at democratic institutions, small d. And I'm not just talking about, lawmakers and politicians. I'm talking about scientists. I'm talking about teachers, nurses. But I will look over at Sandy and his organization's recent poll that actually showed after the election, folks feeling a little more optimistic, to your point, about democracy. I think we're an optimistic people. You and I were talking about this a couple of months ago, this concern about how angry people are at each other. And I think I remember saying, right, everybody is angry, but I don't think they like it. I don't think people are intoxicated by being angry. I think they want to be happier. And that's where this anxiety comes from. But someone's got to take the reins.
It's a really good question in our social media world about how much people do enjoy negativity and anger.
But it's a loud minority. When you actually look at the number of Americans who are on Twitter and actually doing that, it is a small group of folks that are stoking a lot of flame that seems much bigger than it is.
And have an outside influence on our culture and on our politics.
The future of Twitter is an interesting question as we start to move into
another big story of 2022.
But that was one of the things that you found in your poll, that there was a little bit more optimism. How do you feel in general about the democracy and its institutions?
So I know what you think was kind of the big theme of the year, and I'll let you talk about that. But for me, the big theme of the year is what Zoe said, is that there was this kind of release valve that kind of took place with the November election, not just here in Michigan, but across the country. The elections were normal. And I can't tell you how happy that made me. We saw some extraordinary things. One, you did not see unwarranted protests in the street. By today's standards, that's a big deal.
It's a win.
Yeah, and the other one is that we saw something else extraordinary happen. We saw losers of elections do this extraordinary thing called conceding their elections. What a difference 2 years makes. I'm thrilled about what we saw in November of 2022.
And I think what you have to hope is that the party that has been thriving off of this questioning of elections and of democracy and infrastructure is moving on from that, right? I mean, I think there are some hopeful signs that, the candidates who were still hanging on to this idea that 2020 was a stolen election or working to try to disenfranchise voters, for the most part, were not successful. And hopefully the Republican Party, walks away from that with a more confident stride this year than they have in the last 2 years.
Watching, and Nolan, you're watching this as close as anyone, the fight now for how the Michigan GOP is going to find its next, its well, maybe not next, but its slate of leaders, and what that leadership, the foundations upon which it's going to be built, is fascinating to watch. Where's it going?
Well, I'm with the Pillow Man.
You and Mike Lindell?
Lindell come
You're
out
with
today,
the Pillow Man?
Came out last week and said, let's everybody stand back and let's make Matt DePerno the Republican chair of Michigan. And I'm 100% there. I think it's better for this party to die of a massive heart attack than suffer a lingering doubt. Something's got to happen here.
He's like
the Republican
suicide by
Party,
cop or something.
The Republican Party doesn't really exist in Michigan anymore. You've got this sort of loose configuration of malcontents who have the reins of power in the Republican Party. And I think until it just completely disintegrates, it can't be rebuilt.
But you have people who could help walk away from that stuff,
except
right? I mean, someone like Peter Meyer. They were pushed out, but you got to rally around Tom Leonard. You got to rally around the normal.
Well, where's Tom
to beat the abnormal?
He didn't get the Attorney General's nomination.
That's right.
This whole idea that this anti-establishment theme that's running through what's left of the Republican Party, I think, is going to make it that much harder for it to recover.
The Republicans were the best things that happened to the Democrats in 2022, right? Mm-hmm. If it weren't for the Dobbs decision and it weren't for exceptionally poor candidate choices in the primary, in the Republican primary, we would not be seeing this blue wave that actually took place here in Michigan. I mean, it was extraordinary how the Republican Party misplayed their hand. And
some Republicans, to that point, maybe the more establishment Republicans are saying just that. We ran terrible candidates. My question, though, Nolan, is you're saying, to kind of looking forward to February and watching them burn out. At what point do they themselves realize, it seems like this past election should have been enough after this sort of doubling down, right? The Michon Maddox going, okay, you get to choose your AG candidate. You get to choose the Secretary of State. Like, was that not enough? Is this like a tripling down?
Like what has
to happen?
I mean, that's the great question. It's going to be seen, and I think, no, it clearly was not enough because what's left of the party and the folks who control it have little interest in winning. There's something more important than winning elections. And as long as that's true, they won't win elections.
But that's not what they're saying, though, right? They're saying that
what they're doing.
But what they're saying is that we didn't win because we weren't strident enough, that we weren't Trumpian.
Well, let's see how that works out.
Well, in fact, it's going to be really I'm very curious to see what is left then of this Republican Party, what that means in Lansing. Now that Democrats have control for the first time in 40 years, Job 1, Sandy,
is not to overreach.
Well, Job 1 seems to be getting rid of right to work.
So,
your thoughts on that as a business leader in this?
What a really terrible way to start the new legislative season is to start with right to work. There are things. You can
see Stephen's look on his face, but go right ahead.
Stephen who? Never met. Right. I'll say this to any legislator or elected official who will listen. Starting with right to work is going to doom the political dynamics, especially between the business community and Lansing, to a terrible, terrible start which we may not recover in 2023.
Stephen, I keep saying that when we were debating right to work before, we were told that it was either the panacea that was going to solve all of our business woes, or it was going to be massive disaster. Wasn't it neither?
I don't think it's panned out on either end of that spectrum. At the same time, it's an important symbol for Democrats, for people who put these folks into office. I don't think there's anything wrong with going back to revisit it. I agree it shouldn't be the only thing you do up front. There are a lot of other priorities. There are a lot of other things that the Democrats in charge need to deal with that are immediate concerns of people. But I think right to work should be on the agenda, no question.
I think it's a competitive tool. It's a competitive tool. And what we saw over this past year is Michigan's competitiveness in the auto industry and for the future of the auto industry eroded. It's now just as likely when a battery announcement plant's made that it'll be somewhere other than Michigan.
But for international site selectors, Michigan is now on the playing field we weren't 10 years ago prior to the decision on right to work.
Before I have to get to a break, you did tee me up on what I thought was the story of the year, and I hope that 2022 will long be remembered. It was an unbelievable year in science. The Webb telescope showing us the very foundations of the universe, and it's just starting to get to work. We ended the year with talk about nuclear fusion. We managed to steer an asteroid out of its path. Stunning things, and I also think that we're going to end up seeing this as the golden age of vaccine technology. We may end up being able to wipe out things like malaria and viruses in general. So an exciting, this is my optimism.
I love it.
I love
so much better than
You're part of Sandy's poll.
I was going to say better than the Will Smith slap. So
Much better than that.
Our retirement fund.
See, I was ready to leave it on a nice note, Nolan. Always count on Mr. Finley. Thanks, gang. Very happy New Year. Back with more in just a minute on Flashpoint on Local 4.
That's right.
The time to save is now on all iComfort mattresses at Gardner White. Save up to $500 on closeouts. In stock with free same-day delivery. Plus, save more with 0% financing up to 60 months. iComfort Price Cut and Price Cut again. Now just $11.99 with free extras. Right now, take an extra 10% off the lowest price. Plus, we pay your tax. Get the lowest price ever on iComfort. That's why there's Gardner White and no one else.
I'm involved in the CDL program here, a new beginning to be able to start my own business. A friend of mine called me. He said, Sam, I know what we can do. We could get into the car hauling business, but we got to get our Class A license. That was it. That's the calling. You got to go to the school. It was hard, but we had instructors that didn't want to see you fail. And today I'm sitting here, a successful CDL holder.
This winter, stay safe, stay informed, stay ahead of the storm with forewarned weather. Expect more from ExactTrack 4D radar and 4-zone weather because winter weather changes hour by hour and neighborhood by neighborhood.
A dramatic change in the weather. I'm tracking strong winds, rain,
Plus, forewarned weather alert days, earlier warning alerting you to issues days in advance. Accurate forecasts can make your life easier. So expect more with forewarned weather. Always watching, always tracking.
Welcome back. We have made it a habit the last couple of years to bring in the new year with the futurists from Ford Motor Company. It's been Cheryl Connolly, but taking over the reins of the Ford Crystal Ball this year is Jennifer Brace, Ford's Global Futuring Manager, which I think is just the best, coolest job around.
I couldn't agree more.
You agree?
I couldn't agree more.
And Ford is also releasing its annual trends report, so a great time to think about the currents and tides that are going to guide us into 2023. Jennifer, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Really good to have you here. I want to start, though, with, I guess, it's kind of alarming off the top. And one of the first findings that you come to in the report is that people are just sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. They're burned out.
That's right, yeah. So the majority of people are feeling burnt out. They're feeling overwhelmed by all the changes that they see happening, and it's been going on for a long time. I mean, we're in our third year of the pandemic, and it's showing.
And then that has ripple effects in so many different ways. If you're feeling burnout, then then it affects the way you spend money. It affects the way that you plan. It affects the way that you look at your job. It affects so many other things, and those end up coming true as you look further down the trends report, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we see people looking for ways to kind of deal with this kind of ambient stress that is in their life and all of these things outside of themselves that they don't have control over. And they're looking inward, and they're looking for ways to kind of deal with it. So we see things like mental health, for example, as a stress. We see that continuing to increase. It's particularly noticeable with our youngest generation, with our Gen Z. So this is under 27-ish.
In fact, you found some interesting, because we know how awful social media can be. There's so much negativity on it. Even the young people that you surveyed, they're well aware of that, and yet they can't pull themselves away from it.
Right. I feel like there's this tension with technology, something that we kind of love and hate at the same time.
Yeah.
We do see that people are resentful of the fact that their devices interrupt them all the time, where we saw 58% of people saying that they resent that their devices interrupt them all the time. But we also saw 7 out of 10 say that that's how they stay connected. They use social media to stay connected. And interestingly enough, they also recognized that 1 in 3 said that it was toxic, thought that social media was toxic. So there's this real kind of tension in the technology that we're using in our lives, and an understanding that that it might be good and bad for us at the same time.
We have developed Stockholm syndrome with social media.
Right.
The other thing then we've been talking a lot about the Great Resignation and people just up and leaving jobs and trying to find new ways to be satisfied. That's really borne out in this report. But the interesting thing was, we thought that was all young people who were now more likely to say, no, I need a job that makes me happy. It's not just young people.
No, it's not. This is where we saw 81% of our baby boomers saying that they don't really need to be wealthy. They just need enough money to have the things that they want. They're also more likely to say that they don't need to work a traditional 9-to-5 job, that they are looking for kind of new ways. And that's where, it flipped. The script flipped a little bit, where our baby boomers were more likely than our younger generations to feel that way.
What do you think explains that?
I think experience, right? Baby boomers have been out there a lot more and say, I don't know if it's really worth it to continue to kind of, kill myself to be wealthy specifically, when what I really need is just to have the things that are important to me.
This creates a really interesting challenge for employers in trying to find ways to make employees happy. I mean, we've gone through the whole, the ping pong tables and food trucks and all these things that people are trying to do to make work more appealing. Then we went through the pandemic and everybody's working from home. The challenge is now for employers then to make this group of people happy. Everything from being burnt out to seeking, things that make them feel joyful. This is complicated. It
is. There's a lot to kind of unpack, and I think it is up to employers to understand what do their employees need to make them happy, what are they going to need both in the office and outside of the office, and looking for different ways to do that. Absolutely, where people kind of expect their employers to start to understand that there are more than just the needs from 9 to 5, right?
Yeah.
It kind of connects back to, for example, like the mental health element being so strong as a stressor in this.
This has been a trend that Cheryl and I have talked about for a couple of years, and that is the epidemic of loneliness, which clearly still exists then, right? I mean, the pandemic made it worse as people couldn't connect as much. But even surrounded as we are with all of this technology and social media that should keep us, I'll put connected in quotes, people feel more disconnected than ever.
It's true.
This is a really, it's a tragedy and a real human problem.
And it goes back to, again, seeing it happen in our youngest generation. So 2/3 of our youngest generation said that they felt lonely at least once a week. And we saw about 1/3 of that happening with baby boomers. So it was a lot higher with our younger generation. And it's interesting if you think about what the past few years have been for them, right? Where especially if they're in school, if they're in high school or college, the things that they had to do remotely, which they probably had looked forward to being able to be in person. And we're seeing that kind of work its way into the workplace too.
And the glaring thing here is that as we look at the horizon, we can't see a lot of alleviation of many of these factors. We don't know when inflation's going to go away and the pressures that's putting on. COVID is clearly not done with us. I mean, there's a lot of these things that make it challenging for us to say, well, we just need to get to this next time frame.
It's true. And while most people still believe that we'll be stronger in 5 years as a society, what most people are doing instead of worrying about that is looking at what they can control themselves. So we saw like 55% of people said that they're interested or they have taken a trip by themselves to kind of get a break from everything. They're looking to their vehicle as a source of joy. This is one, of course, at Ford we were particularly happy to see. And this is another one that was interesting from generation to generation, where the majority of people did say that they found joy in driving. And the number 2 reason was listening to music in your car. But when we looked at our 2 youngest generations, that flipped, where our millennials and our Gen Z were more likely to choose music as a source of joy than driving.
Interesting. Isn't it?
Look at that.
Well, the optimism I like is that that I'm finding in this is that people are trying to seek joy in their lives, and that's probably a good thing. Maybe that's what the recalibration is.
That's right, kind of accepting the things that we can control.
Jennifer, thanks so much for being here. Have a great 2023. We'll talk to you again soon, I hope.
You as well.
Thanks. We'll wrap things up for Flashpoint right after this on Local 4.
A progressive jackpot that grows with every play. That's what makes Fast Cash from the Michigan Lottery such a thrilling game. The progressive jackpot keeps building and building and building. Until jackpot. Fast Cash. The fun keeps building.
Gardner White is kicking off the new year with more savings. Save an extra $600 on the luxurious Beauty Rest Black with its innovative 4.0 cooling system and pocketed coil technology for better sleep. Save now with 0% financing for 88 months at just $23 a month. Plus, free TVs, free MasterCards, and a bonus $100 MasterCard. And you don't have to wait for a great night's sleep. We have it in stock with free same-day delivery. The New Year mattress sale, only at Gardner White.
When you wake up, it's go time. You want to get up, get out, and get going with only the information that you need. We get it. So expect more out of your mornings with Local 4 News.
Your forewarned weather forecast to help you plan your day. More time-saver traffic reports to get you where you need to go. And more local news all morning long with the stories that matter to you.
We know you don't have time to waste, so expect more from your morning news.
Weekday mornings on Local 4 and streaming on Local 4 Plus.
This time of year, a lot of us feel inspired to help others, and that's a good thing because right now there's a lot of folks in our community struggling to put food on the table.
So right now and all year long, let's work together to end hunger.
To see some of the ways you can help this holiday season, just go to clickondetroit.com/give.
It can do more than just make your season bright. It can change a life. There you go.
Thank you.
Happy holidays!
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
From all of us at Local 4.
That's going to do it for us this morning. Just enough time to say from all of us here at Flashpoint and Local 4, a very happy new year. We'll see you next time.